Welcome to Risk and Resilience. On today's episode, we have Branden and Miguel, who are in the process of crowdfunding their film series called Represent. And in their own words, it's meant to give a sharp comedic lens to the difficulty and beauty from this unique corner of the world. I've seen some of their stuff, and it's really great. In this episode, you're going to see the passion that they have for film, for the city, and it's super palpable, and it was very inspiring. I had so much fun talking to the guys, and I think you'll have fun listening. Let's get into it. All right, guys. Welcome to Risk and Resilience. We have Miguel, or Mig, and Branden, who are here to promote their series, Represent. It's based here in San Antonio. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, man. It's funny this all started just 2 doors away, huh, Branden?
Yeah, I was just so curious. I saw you guys just like really just head in the laptops, and I was like so curious. And then I remember you asked about, who's the owner of Vista, and then I kind of used it as an opportunity, like, well, me and my buddy got, a campaign going on.
And I'm glad you did, man.
Yeah, seize the opportunity,
That was, I live in that, yeah. And I really appreciate that, especially, we'll get into this later, but y'all's Ground Roots campaign, I just really, empathize with that, because I've got a roofing company, we knock on people's doors. So it's kind of, we're in the trenches.
Yeah.
But before we get too far, we start every podcast the same way. What did y'all want to be when you were growing up, and where did it go wrong? Go ahead, Branden.
Really just I would have said the movie business. I mean, whether it was directing, writing, or acting, I think I've always just been so just infatuated with films. My dad got me into it since I was a kid, and I knew like every director too. I mean, Jurassic Park was the one that just sparked it for me.
No way.
Yeah, that was the one where my imagination just expanded from there. But I've always I didn't know what my role was, or what I wanted my role to be in the film industry. But I just knew movies. That's where I want to be at.
That's crazy. Yeah. So you're actually living your dream.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. What about you, Mig?
I wanted to be a bunch of different things growing up, but I think the main one from like 10 to, I even went to college for it, was to run my family's restaurants. They had opened one back home in Crystal City.
Cool.
They opened one more. They're actually opening another one here in 2 months.
What's it called?
Miguelitos.
Oh, come on, man.
Well, I'm the fourth, so it's also after my dad.
That's awesome. You're the fourth?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's a strong bloodline there.
But like once I went to college, I knew Branden in high school, but we hung out more here, and he kind of like reintroduced me to like TV and film. I did always like it. I even wrote like a really bad script in 5th grade, but no, I started getting more into it here, and after making a couple projects, I decided that's what I wanted to do. Yeah,
and I've seen some of your stuff. Y'all are really good at it. I mean, it's hilarious stuff. I follow y'all's Instagram. And I've watched the Represent film. What's the website? We're going to post it. But what's the website where they can see the proof of concept?
Seed and Spark.
Okay, perfect. And you can donate to help make sure that the crew gets paid right.
Yeah.
And of course, y'all get paid because y'all are doing if there's time, right?
Yeah. I mean, it would be
nice.
It would be nice, but as long as the other cast members or crew members are willing to get paid and get fed well, that's the main goal, and just have a really beautiful product.
I love that, man. All right. So from our pre-podcast interview, I know a little bit about y'all's story, and I think we were just talking about it, actually, y'all's love for San Antonio. Let's talk. You can both take turns talking about where that came from, coming from a small town like Crystal City. I know that dirt town, that speed trap town. Tell us a little bit about it. Go ahead, Mick.
Well, growing up there, like you said, there's not too much going on. There's a great restaurant there.
What is it called?
Miguelitos.
Oh, okay. It sounds familiar. I think I heard about it.
And just my family and I would come up here like every weekend, basically, and started to get friends here, got familiar with the city, and decided to come to college here. And I always liked it, but I didn't feel like too passionate about the city. But I did really like it, and being here since 2012, Branden and I just went through all kinds of different crazy experiences, seen so many things and a bunch of cool stuff too. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of endeared us to the city.
Sure.
And then we saw other series that would showcase different places And
That's right. You talked about a series that was supposed to be in San Antonio, but they didn't even film it in San Antonio.
yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's just like, it doesn't feel like it when you're watching it, and different things like that. I just kind of wanted to represent this place, give it all the love that it's due.
Sure. What about you, Brenden?
Well, I was born in Texas and grew up in Arizona, but I have a lot of family that lived in San Antonio. So every summer we would just make a trip, and I was just really anticipating. For me, it was like going to New York City.
Sure.
And
That's so
just,
fun.
yeah,
It's so crazy to hear.
Yeah. Now it feels it's a little smaller now, but I mean, it was just this very colossal. It just felt like just massive for me, and cinematic too. Even as a kid, I would go like, especially going to downtown.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about it that just felt very magical to me. And then, my mind would kind of go like, oh man, it would be cool if they shoot something like this. And I was just seeing that, and then I would always wonder like, why don't they shoot movies here? And then even then, I would see shows that would pop up in TV, and they're saying it's based in San Antonio, but I would like go and do my information, and I would say like, oh, it's just shot in New Mexico. So I've always, years ago too, even before knowing May, like it would be cool to like have my hand into like putting a great story here, and just manifestation was strong from there.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So you actually have an interesting story. You moved to LA to kind of pursue being an actor, right?
Yeah, I was doing it for a bit here to get my feet wet. I was just doing acting classes, short films, and I felt like my resume was looking pretty good, at least that was possibly my ticket to LA, or at least get my to try out and see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got there, it was working good. It was it's funny, for such a massive ocean of actors, a lot of people were just very willing to help each other out, because they were new too as well. So it's like, either they're trying to find friends, or they're just trying to be a part of other people's projects. So it was just good. It felt very welcoming, even though it's just such a massive, again, city.
It's funny. There's we're filming another podcast, and the idea that there's solace in shared experience. I mean, if there's a group of people who are all kind of at the same level, trying to get jobs, there's shared experience there. So y'all have kind of a glue that holds y'all together, because y'all have been doing the auditions, y'all have been doing the circuit, y'all have had to do all that thing. It's really interesting that you say that. So you came back, and were you done with it, or were you coming back with with a vengeance and really wanting to take off here?
Yeah, pretty much like that. I'm more motivated to tackle on being an actor. Actually, even being behind the camera too. It's like, okay, cool. I can have my hand on creating projects with my brother right here, my collaborator. And I, when I was in LA, it was looking good for a bit. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit.
Oh, that's right.
Everything was virtual. I was just getting scraps, and I would just say yes, just because like gives me a chance to act and just keep me sane. But I realized there was a moment like, I think I can be a lot busier just making things with my friends. And, I knew people who had like really good equipment as well. So I feel like I think I can be a lot more ahead of the game than people in LA doing that stuff, than just like waiting for an audition. And that's one thing. It's like, why wait? I mean, that's the thing. The game's changed. You don't, it's good to like have, to have an agent and people to get you in. Of course, I think it's important, but if you know people that have a great camera and great equipment and are willing to help out and be creative, and they're trying to work on their craft, you're trying to work on your craft, everyone's trying to work on their craft, you're able to find that group of people, like you said. You're able, like, everyone's gonna have the same mindset. So I just felt like that coming in, and if anything, I've just been a lot busier. There's times there'll be a standstill, but that's life, and it's part of it. It's part of it, part of the hustle too. So I felt more motivated. I remember talking to him like, hey, I'm just gonna move back, and I got lucky enough with an agent. It was, I was getting some good auditions here and there, but I feel like I've been a lot more busy, or just doing this campaign, and the process has its moments. It's been tough, but it's also, I've been enjoying it at the same time.
Definitely. Mig, so how did you get into, I'm new with the terms. Are y'all both considered directors or producers in the series, or how's that work? Because in business, it would be like co-owners, right?
So far, I've written the main portion of the scripts. Brandon's definitely helped provide like a bunch of the ideas and thoughts of where we should go, and we both act in it. I've in name directed the episodes, but I mean, as we get to make more, Brandon's gonna direct plenty of them too.
What's that like in terms of film? Because I mean, if you ask me to, make a sales pitch, and you ask somebody else who is at the same level as me to make a sales pitch, we're gonna have our own flavor on it. Is it that y'all found that y'all have the same flavor or the same kind of style or type? What's that been like, and how does that translate when y'all are starting to take turns?
We have a really good synergy.
Cool.
Like, we were just talking about this today as we were like walking out handing flyers for the campaign. We there's this style that we go for with every project. I think it's a combination of trying to be honest while also being able to be surreal while maintaining like this veneer of looking real.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does after watching y'all's clips that y'all put out. That's the best way that I would describe it. There's layers to it, and there's depth. There's like the surface level, like funny, and then there's also like that's really smart and that's a really cool angle. So it's like it's a really rich, like watching your minute or 2 minute videos, like watching a 3 hour movie. It's like they're so rich, and you have to watch them over and over to fully grasp and respect the level of thought that y'all put into everything. Even just the proof of concept, like the camera angles. That one camera angle where you get that guy's butt, and then his arm is like right there, and you can just see your face, and then but your expressions are so authentic and they're so real. It's really smart, and I think that's a really good way of putting it.
The guy we shot that with did not enjoy setting up the camera for all that.
It was. Oh man, so much funny stories behind that.
Funny now,
yeah. At that moment, it was stressful, but I do remember that scene. If I can share the story,
go ahead.
When so that's our friend Ralph.
Shout out Ralph and them cheeks caked up.
Ralph and CC. But yeah, he's been a trooper, and he's just been gung ho about our projects.
A trooper?
Yeah, I am, man. Yeah. Ralph boyfriend.
Yeah, man. And I remember I was like, so. He had a sock on his area, so he can won't be able to see his whole thing.
What was it? A child sock? Was it a men's sock?
It was a tube sock.
If I'm not mistaken, rubber band. I think there's a rubber band around. I'm like, you sure you're not gonna cut the circulation off from that, man? But so I remember like they were setting up equipment, and we're doing a different angle, and I'm just there standing thinking about my lines and all that, and he's standing there in front of me, and I'm like straight up directly looking at his area so intensely, and I'm like, oh man, dude, I totally forgot, bro. I should be looking at you. And he's just like,
you're mesmerizing.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, I forgot I gotta do a scene.
It's funny too because the camera comes so close to seeing
dude,
the sock.
I was wondering like how y'all even did that, because I thought he was just hanging I thought he was just out. That's hilarious. So let's get on target here a little bit. So risk and resilience. Y'all are obviously, there's a lot of risks associated with this, right? You're putting your thing out there. I'm new to video editing and editing this podcast, and I actually just had the thought with my wife yesterday. I thought, what if we make a video and somebody just hates it, and it's like your thing, and like to me that's a really vulnerable place to be, because it's like I've never really done it, and I don't have that callousness yet of being like, whatever, like people are gonna like it or not, or somebody's gonna like it or not. But so there's that, and then there's more, there's deeper, right? You're putting a lot of time into this. You're I'm sure you're putting money, and you're asking other people to contribute to it. Let's talk about some of the risks, the biggest risks that y'all have taken so far to get to this point of being able to crowdfund.
Just the whole process, even past projects, like the reason we went with crowdfunding this time is everything has been self-funded so far. Like that first project you saw, I sold my truck back in 2017. Way. Yep. Wow. I got his little car, and I used like 5 G's to pay for the project.
Wow.
And that was severely underpaying the one guy we had on set.
Was that Ralph?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
I don't remember if we even paid him out. It was just like,
it's just being
I'm
a homie.
down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, but no, it's definitely money investment. It's a time investment, an emotional one. Because like you said, you put yourself out there. You're being vulnerable. You're performing. Like, it sucks. Because when we made that first one, we were just starting out. We would get people who were in film, who are friends of friends, would give like small reviews, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, kind of felt like they're just walking around, or like the acting wasn't up to par." And I mean, in retrospect, like, yeah, it wasn't. At the time, though, it was like, oh man, this sucks to hear. But no, yeah, like, so the emotional. I mean, I have kids, and like, I spend so much time doing this. I still make sure to give them time and attention, but you do think like, man, like, there's time I'm spending here that I could be spending like being a better dad. I try to make it quality when I'm there, but you know, just like, yeah, all those things just culminate, and it is a big risk. But Brandon and I had this conversation one time where we were like, man, I believe in us. I believe in our talent. I believe in what we're doing, the thought we put into things. So, yeah, man, we're just restless gamblers, basically.
I love it. I love that. I love that mindset, and it's I really empathize with it, being a business owner, because you kind of have to have that. I say delusion. I'm sure there's a better word for it, but like, you have to be a little delusional. You have to be able to like say like, hey, you know, my company competes with companies that have been around for 20, 25 years. We're about to hit our first year, and that's like daunting. So if I thought about that only, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't still have a company. So I credit that a little bit to delusion. What about you, Brendan? What about some of the risks you've taken?
I think, kind of going back to what you're saying, I think it's just vulnerability. I think that just plays a big part. You're constantly putting yourself out there and wondering, like, what is this person going to think? Are they going to, is that going to hit them the right way? Our line delivery is going to be perfect. The angles, the punchlines is all going to land. And it's just overwhelming of thinking, like, you know what? Just can't please everyone.
Sure.
And you just got to put yourself out there. And I think from like doing this about a decade and just constantly putting ourselves out there, whether it's sketches, we started off doing a YouTube channel and just getting ourselves, we did like comedy, we even did like a dramatic sketch. It even did an animated series for a bit too. Makes very talented.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got a friend you need to talk to. He's working on a cartoon right now. And I watched it, and it's really good. Shout out Cody. But anyways, continue. Yeah.
So I just feel like it's just always, again, like, I think that's the risk, is just putting yourself out there. But it's just when you just constantly do it, you just get kind of used to it. Like, I just put it out there.
Yeah.
Just post it, and then we'll leave it up to them if they enjoyed it or not. If they didn't like it, I mean, that's the thing. That's what's been part of this whole campaign. It's been like fluctuating.
Yeah.
We'll put a video where it's just, it's hitting the numbers right there. And then there's one that's just like, whoa, what just happened? I thought we were doing so good. And then, so it's just constant putting yourself out there.
So it sounds like the risks have been taken, and now we're in resilience. Now we're having to, tread through the mud and get from point A to point B to hopefully get to point C, and then kind of just go on with that. So let's talk about resilience in terms of what that's been like. Real quick before we move on, I'm sorry. Risk, in our pre-podcast interview, we're really talking kind of the times, right? Yeah. Things can really go the wrong way if somebody interprets it a certain way, and y'all are taking risks with y'all's comedy. I've seen it. It's super funny, and I'm kind of on the side of comedy's comedy. Comedy's sacred. Comedy should be untouched, because that's what's so great about it. It's like living in the extremes and kind of a break from reality. And that's why I love watching those videos, because it's smart comedy. It's not like just base level, whatever you would call that level of comedy. What has that been like in seeing people get canceled and seeing, something be completely and sourly misconstrued and turn into something that had that the intention was never there for it to be that?
I've seen so I feel like a lot of cancel culture, like when it's brought up by comedians and people of the like, I don't feel like it's as extreme as a lot of them pointed out to be. Like, I feel like a lot of it is like more of a pause than a break for them. And also, a good thing about us is we're not very big, so we are able to take risks.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what are you gonna take
Yeah,
away
exactly.
from zero?
Yeah. That's true. And it's like a niche that like y'all have a niche style of shooting and a niche style of, so the people who are watching it want to be watching it.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what's really cool. Yeah.
Also, I think a big part of it, because I mean, you can be like completely blacklisted, but I feel like a big part of the difference between people who stay out of the game and who are able to ingratiate themselves back in a lot of the time, not every time, but I feel like a big part of it is intention. Like if we make a joke on Represent and it's something that some people, it's about a subject some people would find offensive. The way we usually write is not to be like, oh, haha, this is funny, let's laugh at like how people are, but more like, let's explore that a little bit. Because, I mean, it's absurd.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of comedy comes from. And, yeah, just the absurdity of the situation is like, why does that seem so strange? Instead of just like, haha, this guy said this really offensive thing.
Yeah.
More so like, damn, why is this guy in this situation? Why does he talk like that about people, about women, about other races?
Sure.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Interesting.
yeah, like, just we're interested in exploring and trying to explore the truths that we can kind of understand and like go more into.
Sure.
Yeah, and then the other ones are just like, oh, it's a funny offensive joke, like, but I like trying to tread or toe the line.
Sure.
We definitely do some stuff that's kind of like, well, stuff we have planned. It's kind of like,
Can't wait to see it.
right on that line,
Yeah,
razor's edge.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see it as, I mean, what's the intention? I kind of see comedy and like, I think just even with writing in general, it's like, and it's funny, math has never been my strongest subject, but I just see it as an equation that you're trying to solve and trying to get that joke to like, from, like again, point A, point B to hopefully you have your answer, which is C. And I just see that with art in general, film, music. It's just like, it just has to be like just smooth and just land perfectly. And if it's just, like you said, like, oh, he just said an offensive joke. It's like, haha. But I mean, where is it where it becomes, maybe the guy does say something offensive, but what's funnier is probably maybe the where he's at, the location, or the people around him. Maybe we're laughing.
Did he say that?
Why did he say that? And we're laughing at him. We're not laughing with him. It's just like, because it's absurd. It's uncomfortable. It's like, we're not laughing. We're not approving what he's saying. It's just what this character is saying and what he put himself or herself in this situation as well. So I think you can also make fun of that as well. And again, kind of going back is like the equation and just trying to like figure it out and hopefully just land the joke from there.
It's a that's really interesting because I'm a big fan of comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I listen to a bunch of podcasts, and it's usually there's you can either go one way or the other, right? There's people that just go take it way too far, and it's like, oh, like you get that like cringy, like oh dude, like it's uncomfortable, right? But you know what they're trying to do? They're like playing the game.
Yeah,
they're doing that to get clicks, to get any sort of publicity. And then there's people that are kind of right there in the middle. Like my favorite comedian is Theo Von. He has like the craziest sense of humor and turns of phrases and takes on things that are just like hilarious. And he rides that line. Like he's not afraid to do it, but he gets a pass. He gets a pass because he's the most, like he wouldn't hurt a fly. Like he's just that guy. So I think it goes back to kind of like what y'all are saying is I would never watch y'all in the show after seeing the proof of concept and y'all make a joke. I would never think like, oh man, like they really meant that like maliciously. Like they're trying to make a point. They're not living, they're not doing life, because whether we like it or not, comedy is a big part of life, right? And you have to be able to find comedy in the pain. You have to be able to, like, it can really help you get over some things. And in order to do that, you have to be willing to take the risk to be funny and like turn it on that. Like I've got a pretty dark sense of humor, just naturally I have a dark sense of humor, and it kind of gives it that little bit of levity that you need.
Yeah.
And I've seen y'all stuff, and again, I can't praise it enough. It had me dying laughing. That one of the dude with the sword in the yard.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah. Hey, shout out to
oh
Kevin.
my
Shout out
gosh.
Kevin.
I think I watched it 1,000 times. I'm not kidding.
Yes.
Shout out Kevin at Alamo.
Yeah.
That's
Alamo Beer.
Alamo Beer. I'm doing an event there next week.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I saw you
yeah,
post a
man.
video.
That's right.
I helped out. I bartended at that one of those events. I think I bartended 2 of those events, the St. Baldrick's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out St. Baldrick's. That's
I
freaking
think-
awesome.
Yeah, it's great what they're doing. Can I go back into the comedy?
Go for it.
Yeah, I feel like Dave Chappelle is someone who I've always just,
Ooh.
since I was a kid, that was like our meme. It's like quoting those lines from the
Oh,
Dave
yeah.
100%. The
Chappelle
Dave
show.
Chappelle show.
Yeah, so you're kind of going on a ride with these comedians because they'll go, let's say, they're going on a touchy subject and like, oh, man, they're stepping on really,
Yeah.
it's on eggshells now. And then you're following them in this ride. And then once they just land it, you're like, that was
Wow.
really
Yeah.
smart. And like, yeah, I applaud that for that. So I think that's kind of like what we're trying to do is like, you're just following on a ride with these characters and hopefully we just stick the landing. And
Definitely, man. That's a crazy vision to have. Like, there's so much thought that has to that's involved in getting to that point C, like we're talking about. That's awesome. So resilience. Now let's get into the grassroots stuff. All right. So y'all are crowdfunding this movie. What was that decision making process like, and how has it gone so far?
It took a while. We actually just passed 1K today.
No way.
Yeah.
Shout out.
We had been putting money into it. And
Yeah.
It was like, let's try to see if we can not go broke immediately after making a project this time. But I mean, even then, it comes with its challenges for sure, like just getting the word out. We actually tried doing a crowdfunding campaign years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think the goal was like $3,000. We got $30. It was my mom. And we just figured like we can, if it's successful, we can amass like much more capital to spend on the actual project itself and open more doors for us to be a little more like, this isn't the right word, but closest is like daring with like expanding, like, oh, we can shoot this we couldn't before because we couldn't afford it.
I guess the series, the format of a series kind of helps with that, right? Because you can get a bite of it,
Yep.
and then let that bring people in to show off. It's really interesting. I never considered that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's just that's pretty much how we got to the idea of crowdfunding. Then we were coming up with ideas. Like the whole process, I think, took us like several months to completely get like.
Really?
We got on Google for the course of a couple months and just got like 1,000 business emails local to San Antonio.
Still sending.
That's so awesome. I love
we
that.
were just passing out flyers today. Coffee shops, restaurants, all that.
That's really cool.
And and then also like we decided to make incentives for it, like T-shirts, stickers. If you pay for this certain incentive tier, you can get a digital ebook as well, and things like that. After a few months, it all culminated, and we finally started the process.
That's so awesome, man. I've talked to realtors in here. I've talked to small business owners, people who are have been successful, and everybody gets to that point, right? That mom is the only supporter. I mean, my mom's probably the only one watching this right now. Sorry guys. But you have to get that's part of it. Like you need to get weathered, and if that first time something bad happens or you don't get past $30, you have a decision to make. And most people at that point usually go the other way. And they say, you know what? The proof is in the pudding, right? We're not doing it. Nobody's donating. I'm not good at this. I'm this, that, and the other. Screw it. I'm going to go back and, and do whatever else society tells me to do. Right. And to get kicked in your teeth, is it more the love of the game? Is it
100%.
belief in yourself, or is it a combination of it? What's your take on that, Branden?
I think, it's a combination of both, really. It's just with that attitude, you just have to go, like, if I'm going down, I'm going down swinging.
Yeah,
and like
I love that.
And, like, every day is, like, we do so much of posting on social media, and that's, like, 10%. So it's like, okay, what can we do today? Let's send out emails. I'm going to send out flyers. What's the next thing we can do for tomorrow? So it's just, as long as, like, I can't control what's going to happen at the end, but all I know is every day, if we all just give our 100%, then I know it's like I give it my all. And I think
That's awesome.
it's just part of this business, just like anyone that's just starting to, not just the movie industry, but anyone's just trying to start a local business and be their own boss. You're gonna get your ass kicked.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah, it's part of it. And then like in the long run, it's just you're gonna be able to handle things a lot more differently now. And so yeah, I think that's really what it is. Just it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Mick?
Oh man, I love the game so much.
Really?
Oh yeah. Man.
What is it about it? Is it about creating something and then being able to look back on it? Because like I'm that's a new thing for me where I'm able to be like, I did that. What explain that a little bit more.
When I was a little kid, the way I always say it is this: when I was a little kid, I really loved attention. So I thought I know I ended up wanting to own the businesses, but I was like, I want to be an artist, and I thought that meant like drawing. Growing up, like there's so much more to art, and I just always really liked TV and movies. And then when I was like 20, it clicked. Like I want to be an artist. I love TV and film. That's what I want to do. And then it started off like probably like in a vain way. Like I said, as a kid, I liked attention. But no, over time, like I just kept giving it more like thought. The more I did it, the more I realized like, no, I love doing this because I just love stories basically. And I love the visual medium, and I love combining them both, and putting stuff out there because it's expression. I like expressing myself. I like expressing ideas, and I like hearing other people give their thoughts back. It's like a communication.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy that about art.
Are you a reader?
No.
Really?
No, I'm not.
I grew up reading a lot. I was a chubby kid. I wasn't very good at sports when I was growing up, so I had to read books. And I remember I would finish a book, and I would feel like I lived that experience kind of. And then that kind of fed. I grew up. My grandmother raised me a lot of time. My mom was normally working, and I would, if my grandfather said we're not watching TV, and he's gonna tell stories, I would take that 100% of the time. So I really got a love for story, and that's kind of, it's funny that you say that. That's kind of where this podcast comes from, is to hear those stories, because, somebody's going to listen to this. Maybe they want to make a movie. Maybe they want to do something else, but these things that you're saying and the theme of every single episode that we filmed thus far is the same. You got to get kicked in your teeth. You got to get calloused. You got to go back. You have to, go back to the drawing board, refigure it out. You got to take risk. You have to just keep going. The risks begin and the resilience to keep going. Everybody gets to that point where they don't want to. Like, they don't want to keep going because they feel like they're so much evidence for our reasons for them not to go anymore. And that's the case with everything. Like, you can find, there's a million reasons why you shouldn't do it, and every single one of them is valid. But find one to win. Like, you have to find an excuse to win.
Excuse my language, but we've gotten the emotional dog shit kicked out of us so many times, and we just keep coming back, and because we don't do it, we don't do it for the money. We do it because it's what we want to do. We just love doing it. It's like that saying, we got that dog in us. Dog doesn't have to win every fight, but he keeps coming back.
Just keeps coming back.
Oh, yeah.
He's hungry. And yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. It's just, we'll have a moment where take maybe like a few weeks off, just kind of, reassess, but
decompose. Because we said that, but instead of decompress.
You don't want to decompose, boys. Yeah. You don't want to decompose.
Nope, absolutely not.
No. But it's just, it's kind of like, when you go to the we go to the movies and we just watch a great film, a great performance, and we're just like, that's why I like doing it. That's why I love doing it. It's just like, now I'm back at it. And it's just like, you're never going to lose it. It's always going to keep finding you. Yeah. Even though you're like, I want to take a break. I'm just, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. That's happened to me a lot where, life has, kicked me in the ass. But then, somehow that dream of mine of wanting to be on the big screen just slowly starts creeping in. And then I'm like, get motivated. And then I'll text him all like, we got to get back, man. Like, this is like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's always like, oh, I was about to text you that too.
Yeah. Like, it's great, man. Like, to not go alone.
I was just about to get into that. That's go ahead.
Yeah. Like, because especially in this industry, I know, a lot of people in the stories I know too that I would read on celebrities that, you know, they would just get just feeling so lonely, and they're very loud about it. Very outspoken about it. So to be able to join this and with him, to experience the ups and the downs, it's great, and it's a breath of fresh air. And when this moment happens, because I believe it will, 100%.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be great to share the success with him as well too, because like what better way
to
share your success with your friend that you went to high school with, to exploring all, you know, this city in San Antonio, and to bring it, to have San Antonio with you to start something. I mean, yeah,
that's really awesome, man. I want to get into that a little bit more, because like we said earlier, there's solace in shared experience, but it galvanizes you, right? Like when you go through those hard times, when you have, you know, backing up a little bit, whatever you feed grows, whatever you starve dies. So like you're feeding the fire constantly, and you'll have to feed off each other, right? You're all lucky enough to be able to, you know, if you're being weak, Brandon, and Mig's there to kind of pick you up, like that's part of it. It's almost like an insurance policy, right?
Yeah,
like you kind of get to rely on each other. What do y'all think that, I'm gonna ask y'all both this, Mig, do you feel like without Brendan you would be in this position, or you would have got here either way, or maybe it would have been harder? What are your thoughts on that?
I would have done
I'd be on the big screen.
You better choose the right answer, man.
I would not. I would not have even started, because I don't know if the idea would have even crossed my mind to get into the field. And I was also just thinking, like, one of the reasons Brandon and I work so well together, and it's funny because this is kind of the opposite with a lot of filmmakers, and understandably so, but a lot of people we talk to are like, I don't like competition. I like to do this, and like for my fulfillment, I like to grow. I understand where that comes from, but Brandon and I are two of like some of the most competitive people. And I'm always like, man, I want to feel like I made the best thing that aired on TV or aired at this festival we're at. And it doesn't even come from a malicious place of wanting to just be better than someone. It doesn't actually come from a place of wanting to be better than anyone. Yeah. It's just like, oh, these are like kind of people who are like doing great, and I can see where my stuff kind of stacks up in, I know a lot of it's apples to oranges, but like kind of in comparison still, like I can like apples more than oranges. You compare stuff.
Yeah.
And no, we just love going to these things and being like, yeah, man, I felt like we had the best one. Or even if we don't feel like that, oh man, there's something we walked away with, and we know another way we can just get better and better. Like,
well, there's enough room.
Yeah.
I mean, there's in today's day and age, like you can. That's what's so funny. It's like back in the day, I couldn't imagine like starting a TV show or starting something that there was no podcast or anything back then. Yeah. But there's so much space now. There's so much digital space for you to get out there and support other content creators, support other people, and kind of, you know, feed off the synergy and get more experience, get to see more, get to be inspired more in maybe a different way, or somebody adds a different flavor. I can only imagine the depth of library that y'all have to look at and kind of be inspired by. Who do y'all draw inspiration from?
I draw from all over the place. Yeah. I feel like the people that I have most recently pointed towards were there's Donald Glover. There's this animator. Her name is Rebecca Sugar. Well, it used to be Kanye West, but after recent events,
it was Pink Polo Kanye.
The old Kanye.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, there's so many. Like, it's not even limited to film or TV. Like,
and for you specifically, is that inspiration more of a because in my simple mind of creativity, right, I'm not a very creative person. I would say like the way that I would be inspired would be to kind of emulate. Or want to be like that if I like it, because that's a real base level of creativity, right? What sort of creativity do you pull out of it? Is it more of like to take risks, or to be able to kind of be on the fringes a little bit? What do you think that is?
It's funny, like when it started off, my stuff was definitely just like a carbon copy of Donald Glover's work. Like I was but you're kind of in your infancy when you start your creative journey.
That's part of it. Yeah.
You have to copy, and then you develop your own taste.
That makes me feel better, guys. Thanks.
You expand your taste, and you develop who you are and your style.
Sure.
I think we're at that point where we've started, or we have developed our own style. But there was always different stuff I took away from other artists. Still, like I mentioned him earlier, Kanye West. Like, one thing I'll always appreciate is like that guy really helped me find my arrogance, but in a healthy way. I would never really think to kind of like build myself up in situations where I had to. That helped me like project my confidence, but in not all the time, more so in a healthy way. To be
Not so much as he does.
No, just to be able to reconcile with myself. Like, no, I am talented. I can do stuff.
There's a part of that that's kind of necessary in what y'all do. Branden, where do you get your inspiration from? If you could kind of put a couple names to it, and what do you get from it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Donald.
Me?
Oh, how sweet! Get the Kleenex.
I'm his muse.
Hey, I just go, I just see it, I'm all like, there it is. I was lost for a bit. I just saw that face. Woo. But yeah, for sure. Donald Glover plays a big part as well. Because I just also kind of expanded I feel like my sense of humor as well. But him, Daniel Day-Lewis, just as a performer, someone that's able to just transform.
Interesting.
It's just it's like you don't even see him, you just see a character.
Yeah.
You see the character, and then so.
Well, he's known for doing like crazy stuff,
yeah,
right? Like being super, what do they call that?
Like
method acting?
Yeah, I'm not too, that's always like a funny subject to go into, but it's just like the fact, like, we all have a different method of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, we all have a different method. But the fact is like, cool, I'm not seeing the actor, I'm seeing the character. Him, Paul Thomas Anderson, I think his films are just amazing and just really wanted me to try my hand at directing as well. And
You mentioned Frank Ocean.
Yeah, I was going to say Frank Ocean.
Cool.
Just plays the fact that he put out an album, Blonde, is like, to me, I think is his magnum opus. And that will live on forever. I'm like, I hope to be able to have something like that, and just to live on, and that's never outdated. That even like maybe 100 years, maybe some kids will pop in the movie and they'll be like, wow, like it's still relevant.
Super interesting. That's funny that you say that, because what is your take on this, Branden? We as a business owner we have metrics that we track sales specifically, and I always tell my guys, like, set a goal. Before you attain that goal, you should have something else behind it. You should have another goal now, something to look forward to, because you get your goal and you get there and it's like, okay, now what, right? Like, it could really let you down. Like, it could really, really let you down if you put your heart and soul into something and maybe it isn't received well, or, it didn't satisfy you the way you thought it would. And my theory on that is you're focused on the wrong things. You're focused on the final product instead of the growth that you kind of experience by grinding it out. Yeah. When this takes off, like you said, because I believe in you guys too, you're going to look back on all these things. And I relate it to the TikTok guys who talk about being motivated and they're flipping like private jets or $1 million watches. What are you talking about? Shut up. You're not motivating me, dude.
Yeah.
It's so out of touch. But when you hear a story like this, a grassroots story like this, one that is fueled by passion, not greed, which is super rare these days, right? Everything is so fueled by greed now. How much can I own versus the love of the game? And you can feel that in y'all's videos. You can feel that in just by what you're saying. It's really inspiring. And somebody's going to listen to this. And I know for a fact they're going to be inspired to go for it, to be able to like get kicked in the teeth, to have only mom donate to the crowdfunding campaign. Because I always say this, that dreams die at risk, right? You get on LegalZoom and you start the company, and then it stops there because you looked up how much QuickBooks was a month, or you looked up like what was all involved in it. And y'all are not doing that. Y'all refuse to go down. Yeah. And if you're not going down, but if you were, you would go down swinging. Yeah. I think that's really inspiring, and that's something that a lot of people need to hear, especially in today's day and age where, our social media is just inundated by all these people who aren't real people. Like they have pulses and their body circulates blood, but they're completely detached from reality. Like their experience is it's so new that like we don't know what's going to happen with this new, you know, type of human that was breeding because of social media and access to the internet and things like that. How do y'all navigate that? Like, is it just an ever evolving sort of, like what's the target, right? Because it's going to change. Like even the news cycle is so fast. Like things get in and out really fast. Just try to stay true to yourselves and like y'all's brand and y'all's style, and then hope that it withstands the test of time.
Yeah. My thing is, I like, because don't get me wrong, we want to make a living off from doing this. We want to make a good paycheck. But I do believe, and I've been taught this, God bless my parents, but they always try to put in my head, like, just keep the passion. The money will come later. Like, if you just keep going, what you want, all that stuff, all that luxurious things that you want in life, that's all going to come later. So it's like, okay, so it's not like, I've had people say, like, have you ever practiced your Oscar speech? I'm like, it's kind of the last thing on my mind right now. Like, my thing is just like to get this thing going. And when I was like just starting in this, and I just finally like clicked, like I want to say like a few months ago, but it's not about really, getting to that. I've always thought about the destination, but it's like right now I just want to enjoy the journey, because I know a few years later I'm going to think about when this pilot got funded. I want to like, man, I was so busy focusing on the next thing.
Sure.
There's other things that we do have shelved that we plan on, like, yeah, let's tackle this, let's tackle that. But, let's enjoy the process of this campaign. And I want to enjoy the process of being on set and really be present with the cast and crew. So it's just kind of like one day at a time. And there's this thing that I saw about, this guy said, this kid's on this horse, and he says, and it's so foggy what's ahead of him. And he's like, I can't see what's ahead of me. And the horse says, well, can you see your next step? And he goes, yes. And he goes like, we'll take it. So that's what I've just been kind of really falling by, is just
interesting.
Taking your next step. Don't think, enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
And not even the destination, really.
That's huge, man. And I was actually just talking about this on another episode that we were filming. It's the words that I would put to it are become versus becoming, right? As a kid, you're so focused on becoming, or to become, you want to become a whatever, an actor, you want to become a business person. But when you get older and you get introduced to the way the world actually works, you understand that you're never going to become that thing. Like you don't just get successful, and successful people are still in the process of becoming, because they want to get more successful. Like it never stops. So you're in a state of becoming all the time. That little iPhone logo, that's just always just spinning and loading. Yeah. You have to stay there, and you got to get comfortable there, and you need to remove the doubt in the idea that one day it's all going to be fine, and you're going to sit on your couch and think, I got here.
Yeah.
The pinnacle, like at the top, we did it all. Because you're going to get to that point, and then you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to fill your time with something. So if you remove that from the equation, and you just are living with the fact, and you're going to sit in the fact that you're in a constant state of becoming, and it's never going to stop.
Yeah.
It makes it so much more simple, right? Now that's not even part of the equation. Okay, check. Now I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to grind it out, because that's what life is, whether I like it or not. I've got friends who have $1 million homes, hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in the driveway, and suicidal tendencies. It happens. Yeah. And it's when you're focused on the wrong things, it's so easy to lose yourself, because you have all the things. I have the car, I have the house, I have all this, and it's still not making me happy. You're focused on the wrong things. Yeah. And I love that you said that in just a different way. But the way I would say that is, y'all are comfortable in the state of becoming, and not focused on what you're going to become. Yeah. And like you said, you're focused on the day to day. You're looking in front of you. I do this thing in my head, and my family now does it. It's called segmenting. So like if I'm going to do 100 push-ups, I'm going to do 20 5 times. I'm going to count to 20, start over at 1. Because a lot of times you can get really, discouraged. It's really overwhelming to think of like the big goal, right? To be on a movie screen and be, hailed as, or have your artwork loved and adored by many. That's a lofty goal.
You get lost in it.
You can get lost in it, and then discouraged, and then just be like, why am I even doing this? That was such a stupid idea. But if you focus on the day to day and just becoming better, like you said earlier, it's not about being better than anybody else. I would ask you, are you trying to be better than you were the day before? And that's that state of becoming. And then as a filmmaker, or as a director, as an actor, you have to be able to, you know, accept that criticism from yourself and then understand like, okay, I'm going to get better. And you need to have that conversation with yourself. And it sounds like that's just, y'all just live right there.
Yeah.
And you're so comfortable in it. Like you're doing a crowdfunding campaign. You don't seem stressed at all. You're just like, hey man, it's going to happen, or it's, you know, it's going to be.
Hide it well.
But yeah, like, I've had someone say like, you're hiding it really well. I'm like, yeah.
Weird. I keep it in my pocket.
The way I feel it is, I think Brandon and I don't seek happiness per se. We seek fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's how we kind of go about things.
I think we always talk about it too. It's like, this is just a part of our lives. This is just a component of who we are. That's our passion. But, you know, you gotta have a life outside of this.
Sure.
Having a social life, meaning, you know, just, hey, you have a girlfriend too, or vice versa, a boyfriend. It's just, you gotta have something to break away from that. Because if you're just so just deep into it, it's just gonna get hard to get out. And that's when all the...
In y'all's case, y'all can get left behind, right? Like if you're not keeping up with people, and movies are about people and they have people in them, like you have to be around them.
You gotta experience.
That's what I love about comedians. Like they're always, you know, going places just to write and just to see people, because there's so much beauty in date. Me and my wife, we love people watching. Like we love, that's one of our favorite things to do. We went on a cruise a couple years ago, and it might as well have just been a people watching cruise. Like we had so much fun with it. But in y'all's case, you know, that kind of is fuel. That's something that you can draw inspiration for a bit. You can draw inspiration for a character, right? We meet people all the time, and I'm like, that dude is a movie character. Yep. Like he's not real. Like he has to have been drum up somewhere.
There's so many people like that here.
Yeah,
that's part of why we made Represent.
Yeah, it's just there's just so many, like, and I say it in a good way. I think San Antonio is such a complex city, and I mean that as the biggest compliment, because you know you don't want to be one side like, oh, it's just a tourist attraction. Like, no, there's just so many hidden gems to explore, and I think, again, we want to be the voices for that.
You go down to Commonwealth, you get some coffee, you see a bunch of buttoned up guys doing a business meeting. You walk down one block, there's some naked dude asking for a ham sandwich.
Dude, I live across the street from Commonwealth. We just moved there.
Well, don't go down that block.
Okay. So, to touch on that, so I've lived in the north side of San Antonio. I went to Churchill High School in the ISD, and I was kind of like north central San Antonio. And I've been there pretty much my whole life. My wife has been there pretty much her whole life. We just moved downtown for the first time ever, and it was like super exciting. It was super exciting to like get away from like, you know, the Stone Oak. That shirt that y'all have is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Go back to Stone Oak, culero.
That happened in real life.
Yeah, that did happen. We were
go for it.
Yes, we were. I was visiting from California, and we were going to St. Mary's. I remember it was just during the Christmas break. Sorry, and it was just crowded with people. And then we left this bar, and this fight happened, and it was kind of hard to see who was like, but all we just saw was a crutch just go in the air, just go, and you just see the guy just like slowest react, like his reflexes were so slow. He was like a cartoon, and then you just hear one of them say like, "Go back to Stone Culebro."
Okay, Vanessa, we need to add that shirt. Yeah. We're gonna put that in right here, and y'all are selling it, and I want one, guys. I will gladly buy one.
Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying, we moved downtown, and it's like a completely different city. Like, there's, you know, it's been such a breath of fresh air to get out of the mundane cookie cutter houses, like the same red bricks that you see every day. And it really feels like we're in a different place. We feel like tourists in our own city. And I think that speaks to the complexity of San Antonio and the layers that it has, right? Like there's like the dark, seedy underground layer that exists and is there. Like you take one wrong turn downtown and you'll find it. And then there's like the Stone Oak part, right? There's like that business mindset of corporate type stuff, and then you get like the gritty part of San Antonio too, that is kind of what I would classify us as. We're so different. We're all very different, but we all have that same mentality. And I'm growing to love the city. I grew up here thinking of other places, right? When you grow up in San Antonio, you think of Dallas, you think of New York, you think of, y'all were thinking of San Antonio, ironically. But like you never, I've found like the love for it, and I see, and I'm able to appreciate the love of, and the complexity of the city, and just like the layers and how rich it really is. It's not, the prettiest, but it's got this, like that girl that you see. It's like, is she pretty? Is there something about her? Like there's San Antonio. There's something about San Antonio, you know, that is now I'm able to appreciate it as an adult. But man, guys, this was so great. Thank y'all so much. I love to hear about it. Where can we find the Represent proof of concept?
So if people pledge to the first incentive on Seed and Spark, we send them a link to get access to watch it.
I will be doing that as soon as I leave here. I really want to watch the rest of it. And socials. What is y'all's social media for the film production?
Familia Sin Sangre Productions.
Oh, that's a mouthful. We're gonna put that. We're gonna insert that somewhere so that people can read it. But we'll copy all the links on our YouTube channel also. Guys, this has been so much fun. We got to do this more often. Thank y'all so much, and really for showing, giving San Antonio the chance to be as beautiful as it really is, and to actually show it and appreciate it. And I'm so inspired by y'all's passion for it. You don't see it very often. Somebody who's really passionate in what they're doing, and it's really inspiring. So thank y'all so much, guys. This has been great. Thank you for coming in. I will see you at the brewery every time we're in here.
I'll be there.
And Mig, it's so nice to meet you, man. We're definitely going to stay in touch, and I hope to play a dead guy in one of y'all's videos one day.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm gonna have to be laying face down though, because I think I'm gonna like look or something.
Did you guys catch me breathing?
Yeah. Hurry up, guys.
It's gonna be a YouTube video. This body was breathing in that episode.
That's a bit in itself. Guys, thank you so much.
Of course.
Have a good one, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Of course. Dude, that was awesome.
That was great.